So Vitalis, it's really good to see you again. Thank you very much for joining us on the link. And we're looking at what happens to your heart when you get converted. And
Yes.
you once said to me that your conversion felt like a heart transplant. So I want to come to that, but can you tell us a bit about your background and where you were before you were a Christian?
Yes, thank you very much, Tim. I was born a Catholic, and where I come from, which is in the southern part of Nigeria, eastern part of Nigeria, Catholicism was more like a tradition. Even people that don't go to church, everybody kind of feel they are Catholics. So I was brought up in that setting. But in my own case, my parents were quite dedicated as Catholics. So I grew up, I went to the church, regularly, and I even served the priest during the services, which are called the Mass. So I was a Mass server. And then on that same, in that same format, right through my primary school, secondary school, university, I belonged to different Catholic religious associations. And
Yeah.
some of them I was their president.
Wow.
But especially in the university, because of this Catholic tradition in me, I actually was one of those that formed the association in the university.
Wow.
But the motive was to kind of checkmate what the scripture union were doing, because we felt they were taking our members into the Pentecostal, so as a kind of Catholic defender.
Yeah. So you were in a situation a bit like the Pharisees in our passage this morning, really defending the traditions that you've been brought up in and grew up in. And you were true to say, you were quite zealous for your traditions.
It was actually that kind of zeal, because it got so bad that when I meet you, I will be looking for a physical sign to show that you're a Catholic. If I see you have what we call the Catholics call a chaplet, is a bead.
Yeah.
They used to pray, pray.
Now, let's come on to your conversion, because that was quite dramatic, wasn't it?
Yes.
God kind of stopped you in your tracks. Could you just tell us briefly what that was like as an experience for you?
So in my country back home, when you graduate from the uni, young people are required to do a national service for 1 year. And what happens is that people from the north will go to the south, people go to different parts of the country, so you can have work experience within that 1 year. So when I graduated, I went to the northern part of my country. I was trying to look out for the Catholics. And very funny, I met a young man. I saw in his room a calendar bearing the photograph of a priest. So I thought this young man is a Catholic, like I was looking out for, and I became friends with him. I didn't know he was a charismatic.
Oh.
So that was how I went to their first meeting. Something dramatic really happened to me. Eyes were closed, hands lifted up, and the worship was going on. And at some point, I felt like my clothes were really getting wet. I didn't know where the water was coming from, but by the time I opened my eyes, I realized that it was tears.
Wow.
Going down from my eyes. So deep down me, I felt some kind of my heart melting, and subsequent to that meeting, I became a different person in terms of being responsive, the way I relate with people. So that shift from that tradition of Catholic and all that There was a shift. It became I became quite responsive to, quite passionate and compassionate towards people, and so it was in that setting that I now came across this the scripture in Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 26, where God was saying that in the new covenant he will have with his people, he will remove the heart of stone and put a heart of flesh.
Yeah.
So when I read that, it kind of made me realize, because prior to that experience, if I see the Pentecostals praying in tongues, or the way they pray or quote Bible, I kind of the way I look at them. So my heart then was like a heart of stone.
Yeah.
But after that experience,
yeah,
something completely changed. Even I became very emotional. Little things can actually make me quite emotional from that moment going forward.
Yeah. You really felt a big change in you as a person.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's why I called it transplant. Yeah.
And that I was just going to say, that is why you feel justified in saying it is like a heart transplant you experienced before and after. That's amazing. We will put that scripture on the screen this morning in our service, Vitalis. I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for that testimony. It's really brought out a number of important things for us. Thank you very much indeed.
Welcome, and I'm very grateful for the privilege to share my testimony. And,
bless you. Bye-bye, Vitalis.
Have a nice time. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye for now.